Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about no day in court for gig workers who are deactivated. So a subscriber sent me an email about this article. BC, thank you so much for sending me this article and making this video series possible. This is actually part 2 of this article. The first part, I realized that this article was too long to be put into one video. I will leave the first video in the description. Feel free to check that out. But with that said, I want to go over everything that is being said in this section of the article, how it actually is for Doordash, UberEats, and Grubhub drivers, as well as all parties involved and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. Even when gig workers know the specific issue that caused deactivation, it can be hard to fight the delivery apps to be reinstated. It can be hard to fight. It's a gosh darn nightmare. Uber Phoenix, for one, was deactivated and lost $1,700. And that was from Doordash. Bud Soda lost $2,000 for a season and ended up losing months worth of income trying to get reinstated, and that was a nightmare within itself. So it can be hard to fight the delivery app is honestly an understatement. One Instacart shopper in California said he was deactivated after Total Wine Store charged him more for a bottle of bourbon than the price indicated on the app. He told Insider he called an Instacart support agent who approved the purchase and added the money to his company-issued debit card for that purpose. He was deactivated later that day. Okay, he was literally doing the task that he was said to do, and that's why he was deactivated. There was a person in the comment section of my last video that said, there are some times when they know the exact reason why they were deactivated. Yeah, and if this was the reason why they were deactivated, that's bullcrap. It may not be a class, but it's certainly a continuous issue. Instacart cited the Total Wine transaction and said the shopper had committed a misappropriation of funds, according to the screenshots of chats that the shopper had with support agents. It added that the shopper had made several unauthorized purchases, but didn't point to any transactions other than the Total Wine purchase. The company didn't offer additional details according to the emails from Instacart viewed by Insider. Yeah, see, that's kind of the point. Like, they say the several unauthorized purchases, but they don't give any details. They don't give evidence to prove that that was an action that should have been taken. They just say, hey, we don't like you. We are gonna say this about you, and that's why we're gonna deactivate you and totally devastate your financial situation in a lot of cases.
Defamation of character. The plaintiff's video negatively impacted the perception of Lena Lunders and impaired her financial well-being.
Appeals to deactivations are reviewed by Instacart's Trust and Safety team, who thoroughly review the appeals and respond based on the evidence provided, an Instacart spokesperson said. What evidence? What evidence are you looking at? You're not sharing that evidence, so clearly it's not true at all. How can you call it a Trust and Safety team if you cannot be trusted and this is genuinely unsafe for gig workers? Oh, it's safety for your financial situation. You're trusting that you're actually safe. Okay, I understand. Who cares about the gig workers, right? The company added if a shopper can verify that they were deactivated for reasons outside of their control, their appeal will be approved and they will be reinstated. You see, that's nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. Do you know how hard of an uphill battle it is for a lot of gig workers? That's just politics right there. That's just nonsense.
The impudence! The audacity! The unmitigated gall!
Ricky Noodleman, a DoorDash driver who lives in Central California, found her DoorDash account deactivated in June after 5 years of lucrative gig work in an affluent celebrity haven between Los Angeles and Santa Barbara. Last year, she said she earned $80,000 delivering food for DoorDash. That is solid, man. And with Prop 22, you know that she was really putting in the work, too. The whole thing came as a total shock, she said. I've never been fired. After calling DoorDash, she was told that she was deactivated because of late deliveries. She appealed the decision and noted her record. Over 5 years as a delivery driver for DoorDash, she had logged 7,000 deliveries and had high customer ratings, and was a top dasher, a program that rewards dashers with perks. You see, that right there, There was no reason to deactivate her. She was late a couple of times. 7,000 deliveries, and she was late a couple times. And you know that California traffic can be some nightmarish stuff, man. And because that person was a veteran driver who was there for such an extenuating period of time, they had her wrongfully deactivated. Noodleman's appeal was denied. The email, which was viewed by Insider, said the company was able to confirm that a violation occurred and directed her to her contract with DoorDash. Please reference the abusing the platform section within the service provider platform access policy to get more information. If you wish to submit another appeal, you will need to wait 90 days of this email for DoorDash to review your next appeal. So basically, by the time that we appeal it over and over again, we're just not going to have the opportunity to reactivate our accounts. Your driver Mike got reactivated recently. It took him 2.5 years for them to realize, hey, this person should not have been deactivated. Why did we deactivate him? It doesn't make sense. Noodleman said she made several more attempts to appeal, but has had trouble finding a live person to talk to and faced an endless loop of phone calls and emails, which either seem to be ignored or answered by robots. There is no day in court with a flesh and blood human being, she said. In nearly 60 years in the workplace, I have never felt so devalued and unsupported, she said. This person was working tirelessly for 60 years on the platform for 5. Literally was so devalued, so unsupported. DoorDash has proven to be worse than most of corporate America. That's embarrassing. When Insider asked DoorDash for comment, a spokesperson said Noodleman was repeatedly more than a dozen times successfully late with deliveries, indicating abuse of the platform to inflate earnings. Noodleman denied the claims. Okay, you've been in the workforce for 60 years. That means you're at least 70-something. You're gonna blame a 70-year-old woman for trying to make ends meet and driving as fast as she could based on her physical capabilities? You can argue that she's an older person and maybe it was about that time she should have been off the road anyway, but you don't know if she could have been in that position. It's expensive to live in California today. The company said she was paid by the hour, stipulation of Prop 22, a new California law. By making deliveries late, DoorDash said she was fraudulently inflating earnings. Okay, but there's a significant difference between an old lady driving as fast as an old lady does and somebody who is, let's say, in the situation Nugs was in when he got deactivated. He was literally doing that to play the system. That's really, really bad. We recognize this is a serious impact that losing access to that platform can have, DoorDash said in a statement. That's why we never take the decision to deactivate a Dasher lightly, and only do so if they engage in severe conduct or repeatedly violate the clear and fair policies they agreed to follow during the onboarding process. Yet you see, no, that is completely inaccurate. First of all, if you did take it lightly, there wouldn't be so many mass deactivations to begin with. Second, repeatedly violate clear and fair policies. They're not clear and fair at all. You just initiated a wrong order delivered violation for us, and we don't even have a say which order we take. We literally tell them this is the problem with the order, and the restaurant will not work with us. So if you're gonna say it's clear and fair, make everybody accountable on all sides. Stop trying to put the blame on us and stop lying to everybody else.
First, you lied, right? Then you lied about lying, okay? Then you lied about lying about lying, okay? So before you lie about lying about lying about lying about lying.
It added, while no process will ever be perfect, we're constantly engaging with Dashers, merchants, and customers to find ways to improve while maintaining the safety, security, and quality that all members of the DoorDash community have come to expect.
Stop lying!
Okay, so that's a bunch of nonsense. Let me fix that. We're constantly engaging with Dashers, merchants, and customers to find ways to manipulate them, take their money, and get rid of people who have gotten too smart for their own good, so that way we can maintain our financial safety ourselves. Money, 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 yum, yum, yum. Have a good day. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Now what do you say?
Lying is wrong.
And?
I'm a pretty little girl.
I knew it.
A new law could help delivery gig workers from being automatically deactivated. Sergio Avidian, a multi-app delivery driver who shares his gig work experiences on the Rideshare Guy blog and YouTube channel, said the unjust deactivation of gig drivers was a huge problem. Oh, I didn't even realize he chimed in for this. Good for him. I'm glad that he's getting the clout he deserves. He's been putting in a lot of work. He gets about 15 emails a week from frustrated ride-hailing and food delivery workers who say they've been deactivated and have been ghosted by delivery apps when they try to defend themselves, he said. Sounds like typical every gig app ever. Avidian said he'd like to see legislation passed in every city in the US that would protect drivers from being automatically deactivated. Legislation in Seattle provides a model. You know, I think I do need to make a video on the Seattle thing, because if that thing becomes federal, it would be beneficial for all parties involved. The city that recently passed a measure that makes it harder for apps to deactivate gig drivers, for example. A driver refusing too many orders is not an acceptable reason for getting fired under the new law. It requires a human, not a computer, to review any appeal that a driver makes to a deactivation decision. And also keep in mind, if you allowed the gig apps to make these kind of decisions on their own, they're also going to do whatever they can to make you look bad as a driver too. So I do believe it needs to be ran by an outside party. I don't think a union is really a great idea, but I do think there needs to be separate legislation for people who are deactivated to actually get a proper process and not just some arbitration agreement where Doordash says, here, say what we want you to say, and that's the end of it. Anytime a driver is suspended or deactivated, an appeal has to be made in front of humans as opposed to getting fired by AI, Avita said. Oh my god, imagine if it is all just AI, it's not even people. When asked whether employees were involved in deactivations, Instacart and Uber did not respond directly to insiders' questions, but said humans were involved in appeals. Not in deactivations, in appeals. Those are two different things. Grubhub and Doordash told Insider that employees determined the deactivation of drivers, which I still say is a bunch of nonsense, but whatever. Getting justice after being deactivated requires a lot of work or a stroke of luck. Despite the odds, some workers have either gotten compensated for their deactivations or had their accounts reactivated. One former Instacart contractor won $28,000 in arbitration with the delivery company last year. Instacart deactivated him in 2020 after a Walmart self-checkout kiosk charged him for an item that he didn't intend to purchase while he was ringing up a customer's order. It's about time that Instacart took a hit for some of the crap that they do. For some gig workers, getting back on the app can happen as seemingly random as deactivation. One day in early January, the Uber Eats worker in Oregon reinstalled the app on his phone. Uber hadn't told him anything, but his account was suddenly back up and able to accept orders, he said. A few weeks later, in an email from Uber, which Insider reviewed, confirmed his reactivation. We appreciate the patience you showed while we resolved this issue, it said, and we apologize for the inconvenience. How sad is that? Like, it literally told him that he was deactivated for no reason noted, and then won't even tell him when he was reactivated? Like, what's going on with that? Like, why? Like, that's one thing I think DoorDash and all these other gig apps need to start doing, because it's not like DoorDash or any of these other gig apps haven't done that. They would just reactivate people randomly, and no one would know the difference. This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. I made this point in the other video where I think that a lot of these mass deactivations are total nonsense and you need to protect yourself from that with multi-apping and having an exit strategy. And I still stand by that. But could we all benefit from a little legislation protecting us? Yes. Do I know what that's gonna look like? Maybe it's the thing in Seattle. Maybe it's not. And I don't really like to talk about politics either, especially if it's in a hyper-local area. But could we benefit from this? I say yes. What is that gonna look like? Do we need to actually really think about this stuff before just applying it? Also, yes, this is so long overdue and needed to be done much sooner. I'm glad that some people are getting reactivated, but they need to do that more often. They need to reactivate people much more often. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!